I'm having a little technical problem on the live stream, and I have to go over and push a button so that you can see me rather than seeing my countdown clock. But I'm here with you, and it's great to be with you. We've got a lot to talk about today, folks, a lot to talk about. And, you know, this is just a pet peeve with me. You all probably feel the same way, but man. You know, that's why I stopped watching professional sports, because when they started that flag kneeling stuff, it just bothered me so much. I couldn't stomach it. I just really could not stomach it. And of course, they've gotten worse now with all this homosexual stuff that they're celebrating. So it just goes to show that that was really not the disease. It was a symptom of the disease. The disease is they've just gone godless. They've just gone wicked. And you know, almost anything that denigrates the country, denigrates faith in God, denigrates Christianity, they're fine with that. Anything godless, anything depraved, anything degenerate, they seem to be entirely willing to support that. Communist China, yes. America, no. Communist China, yay. America, horrible place. It is truly twisted. But Joe Biden, at his homosexual, or let's use my initials, his SPCG event, his sexual perversion child grooming event, had the unmitigated gall to put some, I guess this is the new so-called gender, well, it's the gender confusion flag, I'll call it, but they call it the transgender flag, had the nerve to put that flag center stage, flanked by the American flag. Now, my understanding of flag protocol is that whenever the stage is shared with the American flag gets center place in the most prominent position. But we're now in a situation where the American flag gets second place and some kind of sexual perversion flag gets exalted to some special. This is, you know, folks, all this stuff just serves to underscore something I've said again and again and again. These people don't care about this country, and they don't even love this country. I didn't believe that Barack Obama loved America. I don't believe that Joe Biden loves America. I believe that Joe Biden loves money and power. Because, you know, if you really have an affection for the country, and surely he's got people around him who understand proper flag protocol, you don't ever allow the flag to be denigrated. You don't ever allow the flag to be disrespected. You just don't do that. It's a matter of honor. It's a matter of integrity. And when the President of the United States does it, it tells you a lot about his true thinking. Remember when Obama first ran, he would not wear a flag lapel pin, and it caused a lot of backlash and consternation. And he said, well, that's not my kind of patriotism. Well, what that means is I don't have any affection for the flag. I'm not interested in the flag. The flag doesn't mean anything to me. He finally started wearing one just to avoid the backlash. But we already knew then where he stood. I mean, as a footnote, I've often said to people, the reason why folks raised so many questions about Obama's birth was that Obama conducted himself as a person who really wasn't American. He critiqued America like an outsider looking in, not like an American, proud of our country, having affection, respect, reverence for our country, patriotism for our country. No, he critiqued America like an outsider, resenting our country, not liking it, not respecting it, and it fueled the question. Well, is he really an American? It wasn't racism. It was his own behavior. It was his own conduct. It was his own attitude. I believe Barack Obama was the first president we have ever had who really had absolutely no affection or affinity for his own country. And I believe that Joe Biden now has followed suit. So this is just so disrespectful and so dishonoring, and it's something that the President of the United States should avoid like the plague, not because people are going to criticize him if he doesn't, but because he cares about our country and always wants to demonstrate for the American people that he is first among those who respect and honor this nation. But what he's telling you is he doesn't give two hoots about this country, and he doesn't give two hoots about respecting it. It's obvious. What he cares about is lining his own pockets, enriching the Bidens, maintaining his own power, and advancing, apparently now, I guess he really is a full-blown member of the cult, advancing this godless, anti-American, anti-Christian, anti-God, anti-life, pro-sexual perversion agenda that the Democrat Party has fully embraced. They are immersed in it now. And by the way, you know, this dovetails with something else that, again, really bothered me. The Air Force. The Air Force put out a meme. And, let's see, I think I've got it here. But, yeah, the meme of a Air Force, an airman or soldier or Marine, you can't really tell who it is. It's put out by the Air Force, so presumably that they're trying to depict an airman saluting the rainbow flag. Yeah, the rainbow flag's in front of him. He's saluting the rainbow flag. And it says, "Celebrate Pride Month." Now here again, I'm not nitpicking on this. Okay, you could have had a picture of someone standing in front of this abomination thing, looking at it admiringly. Sure, you could have depicted that and had some symbol to let you know that this is how the Air Force thinks, this is how the Air Force feels. Lord have mercy on us. But to depict an airman saluting it, that's not an accident. That tells you where their real affection is. That tells you what's really important to them. And it just, I mean, folks, I find it, again, you know, you would think I'm beyond being shocked. Maybe what's shocking me is not that they think this way, because this is not new. But maybe what's shocking me is that we've come to a new era of boldness and brazenness in which it's really just in your face. No, I don't respect this country. No, I don't respect the flag. No, I don't respect America. No. Even in the military, you got people willing to send signals like that. Oh yeah, we're recruiting through a drag queen. Yeah, right. What are you going to do about it? I mean, that seems to be the attitude. Well, they're going down big time. Back in a moment. Now, to show you how bad this is, in fact, I was talking to my son on Sunday, and we were talking about this, and talking to my wife and I were talking to him and his wife, and we were talking about this issue of denigration of the American flag, and he brought up a situation in which somebody got jail time, and there've been more than one of these incidents, but which somebody got jail time for damaging the so-called gay flag or gay pride, for whatever they call that thing. The appropriation, you know, you can get excoriated for cultural appropriation. You know what that means? Like if you wear, you're not African or not black and you wear dashiki, or you're not Asian and you wear a kimono or whatever, or you just do something that seems to appropriate someone else's culture. Oh, that's racist, it's cultural misappropriation. But apparently nobody cares about the fact that the homosexual community has misappropriated the rainbow, which is a sacred symbol representing God's mercy upon mankind and his promise not to destroy the world by water again. But that seems to be okay. You can basically pirate Christianity and just denigrate it any way you want. Apparently you can do the same thing to the American flag, and that's okay, because it's fair game. But are you ready for this, folks? I didn't realize how, I don't really remember this particular story. Maybe I did cover it back in 2019. But a man ripped down a so-called gay flag that was flying over a church. And of course we know that it's not really a church. That thing is again an apostate abomination in the sight of God. They're flying this homosexual thing. Instead of the cross, you got this homosexual thing flying above it. So guy goes up there and he tears it down. Okay, when he does that, there's no question, he commits a property crime. He takes the thing off somewhere and burns it. And of course, that's also a property crime. I mean, he's destroying private property. And he gets arrested for it. They charge him with a hate crime. You know how much jail time he gets? Ready for this, folks? Are you sitting down? 15 years. He got 15 years in prison. See, this is what I mean, folks, about, they're calling it a two-tiered criminal justice system. It's worse than that. It's worse than that. We are really looking at the complete collapse of the criminal justice system as such. In fact, that is almost a misnomer now to call it a criminal justice system, because it's not justice and it's not punishing crime. It's really punishing people for having the wrong viewpoint. Now, by the way, this guy bragged about this, and he said, quote, his name, in fact, he's still in prison. I'd like to find out what's going on with him. Adolfo Martinez, 30 years old. And he said, after he was arrested, he said, quote, "It was an honor to do that. It's a blessing from the Lord." He said, "I burned down their pride, plain and simple." And he got charged with a hate crime and given 15 years. See, I'm convinced that this whole hate crime business, and you all know I've said I hate hate crimes. I hate the concept. I think it's wrong, because he's not in jail for destroying a piece of property. He's in jail for having a viewpoint. And we don't do that in America. We don't put people in prison because they have a certain point of view. We put people in prison because they do something wrong. So sure, you want to charge him with destruction of property? Okay. You want to charge him with a theft? Okay. Won't get any complaints out of me about that because he did those things. What are people doing? What's happening to most people now who get charged with theft or vandalism? Nothing. Nothing. In fact, most of the time they're not even charged. It's pled down to a misdemeanor and they're let go on their own personal recognizance. This guy gets 15 years for a hate crime. Now, what do you think he would have gotten if that had been an American flag and he had torn that down? and gone off and burned that, what do you think he would have gotten? Nothing. It wouldn't have been a peep. Oh, he was expressing his First Amendment rights. What if he said, hey, I hate the country. I hate America. Oh, he would have been patted on the back for his courageous stand against social injustice. But you dare say you don't agree with homosexuality, that you believe it's sin in the sight of God. And I'm not vouching for this guy's character. I don't know him. But I'll tell you what, I'm vouching for the fact that he should not be in jail for 15 years. I tell you that. Okay? Destruction of property, 15 days, maybe a fine, maybe no time, maybe probation with an ankle bracelet. Okay, fine. All right, I'm not going to quibble with that. 15 years? And folks, this is what I mean. When we no longer have confidence in our ability to adjudicate crime in an objective and fair way, that we are acting more like a banana republic that punishes people who we consider to be political enemies, rather than punishing people because they actually committed crimes that are worthy of the federal government depriving them of liberty or property, or even in some cases, even life. If we don't have confidence that the system is going to do that, what are we left with? What are we left with? I haven't seen this story, but I heard a report of it briefly about a protest outside of an elementary school in which they were doing these homosexual readings and teachings for children, and they say that the protest began to get ugly, that people were really angry and upset. And I'm not justifying that or excusing that away, but I've said this before, and I don't want to be misunderstood. This is not prescriptive, this is predictive. You start messing with people's children with this stuff, and it's going to get ugly. That's just the way it is. It's going to get ugly. Again, that is not prescriptive, that is predictive. Because sooner or later, you're going to run into parents who feel, I'm not being listened to. They don't care what I say. They're going to do what they want to do with my children. I'm feeding them. I'm clothing them. I'm raising them. They are mine. God gave them to me. And we've got people who are going to do whatever they want to do, say whatever they want to say, teach them whatever they want to teach them. And I'm simply not going to have it. And sooner or later, you're going to get somebody who just feels like, okay, that's it. This is going to get violent. Here again, that's not prescriptive. I don't want that to happen. I discourage that in the strongest possible terms, okay? But it is predictive. You'd be a fool to think that that's not going to happen when you start messing with people's kids. And they just don't seem to care. So just like I suppose, you don't care about the country. You don't care about the American people. You don't care about our children. All you care about is your agenda, your power, your position, your affluence, wealth, ability to put your hands on as much money as you can, no matter where it comes from, like Joe Biden is doing right now. I guess, I guess we shouldn't be surprised. But I saw a Gallup poll. Let me see if I kept that, showing that there is a surge in the conservatism that the American people are now experiencing, that there is a 10-year surge in conservative ideas, that the American people are thinking more conservatively now than they have in 10 years. I think because the American people are beginning to see where liberalism really takes you. I think they're really beginning to see just how wicked, how ugly, how evil this stuff really is, and how arrogant it really is. And so it doesn't surprise me. That, here again, that's my hope for the country, folks. My hope for the country is that the left, because sin never gets enough, and depravity never gets enough, that they're just going to keep sinking deeper and deeper into the abyss, and going to wrap their evil tentacles around the necks of our children, try to drag them in there with them, and sooner or later people are going to reach in and start taking action to say, oh no, you're not. Oh no, now I'm not talking about violence now, but just being said, no, oh, we will take our children out of schools, we will create our own schools, we're going to start voting en masse. You know, when the Christian community finally wakes up and begins to take action, legitimate political action at the ballot box. I don't care what the Southern Poverty Law Center says. I don't care what the FBI says. I don't care what the Biden administration, the Justice Department say. You can't beat we the people when we the people decide that we are the sovereigns of this nation and we're not going to have it stolen from us by a bunch of lying, degenerate, anti-American, corrupt people. Back in a moment to take your calls. So we denigrate the flag, some of our fellow citizens, I should say, denigrate the flag. They celebrate the perversion flag. And let me add one other thing, then I want to come to your calls. The number is 888-589-8840. That's 888-589-8840. The city of Albany, New York, just recently took down the statue of General Philip Schuyler, who fought in the Revolutionary War. He's a Revolutionary War hero. They took his statue down from Albany City Hall because he owned slaves. Now, let me just say, folks, you all know I wrote this book, Sweet Land of Liberty, Reflections of a Patriot Descended from Slaves. Now, as someone descended from slaves, ask me, do I think that General Philip Schuyler's statue should be taken down? Absolutely not. Now, why not? Because the man fought for the liberty that I myself enjoy. You know, I don't know what it's going to take well, look, we know what it is. They're trying to legitimize the country. They're trying to basically set the stage for the fundamental transformation of the country by showing people that America is so inherently evil, so inherently wrong, so inherently bad, that you got to almost start all over again with their vision. And their vision is a Marxist vision, it's a communist vision, socialist vision. Because look, here again, slavery was a universal institution practiced all over the world. America wasn't established last year. It was established, well, the first settlers, of course, arrived over 400 years ago. America was birthed almost a quarter of a millennium ago. And to try to take today's ethics and apply it to people who lived 200 or 300 years ago and say we're going to punish them ex post facto, we're going to punish them. We're going to punish them in their graves. I mean, it's just, folks, it is exasperating. It really is. It really is. Every single American, I don't care what the color of your skin is, ought to be grateful for those Revolutionary War heroes because they were fighting for our liberty, even though they may not have fully understood that then. But God did. God did. And they were setting the groundwork for us to be the freest people in the history of mankind. Man, this stuff is just, it'll get to you if you let it, folks. It really will. 888-589-8840 is the number. That's 888-589-8840. Let's come to your calls. Let's go to Richard in Virginia. Richard, welcome. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Richard. And by the way, Richard, I agree with you. I absolutely agree that we should not be using electronic ballots. To me, they're too subject to manipulation. I don't mind machines counting the paper ballots, but I want paper ballots. And that way you've got proof of how people voted. You've got proof of what the count was. You can check it. But with these electronic machines, we know look, what are we hearing now about AI? What about AI? If that software can replicate your voice, why wouldn't it be able to replicate your vote? I mean, so I agree with you 100%. And here's the only thing I'll say is this. Every single American, particularly those of us who love and care about this country and love this country more than life and more than our own sense of power and self like these leftists do, we've got to be vigilant. We've got to be at these polling places. We need to make sure that there are conservative officials watching over the polling process. In other words, You may not be able to stop all the cheating that they want to do, but you can certainly make it hard for them, and you can discourage it. And that may be enough if people show up to vote. That may be enough to win with such overwhelming numbers that they're not able to cheat their way out of it. Thank you for the call, Richard. Let's go to Raul in California. Raul, welcome. Yeah. 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 Oh, my goodness gracious. Wow. Raul, thank you so much for the call, brother. Look, and again, my warning is again, it is not a prescriptive recommendation, but a predict. Washington was losing most of the time. I mean, he was losing, but he wouldn't stop fighting. And eventually, when the moment of truth came, he won the war, as you put it. So that's why we have to keep fighting. I agree with you. It's not looking good. That's why, again, we need political leadership that understands we are in a cultural revolution and is going to oppose it. I mean, I heard Josh Hawley on television earlier talking about this, and I said, now that he was talking about it in a way that I don't hear the presidential candidates talking about it, and they've got to talk about it that way because the future and fate of our country is literally hanging in the balance. Thank you for the call, Raul. Let's go to Pam in West Virginia. Pam, welcome. Great to hear from you, Pam. Pam, I am so glad you brought that up, Pam, and thank you for the call. You are right. I mean, I hadn't even brought that up, hadn't even thought about that one. But all of this elaborate celebration of homosexuality and gender bending confusion, look, if people want to do that, it's a free country and they can do that. And by the way, I respect their right to do that. I really do. I don't agree with them, but I respect their right to do that. But you don't, there's no constitutional or legal authority to take taxpayer money to further some sort of sick sexual agenda. And so you are right, Pam. I mean, what do they think they're doing? And then denigrating the flag in the process. It's just, that just adds insult to injury. 888-589-8840 is the number. We'll be back in a moment. Folks, I declare in the name of Jesus that America will be a nation governed by the righteousness of God, not the wickedness of the devil. And that is our stand, and we've got to continue to stand. And we're going to win. We are going to win. I believe that with every fiber of my being. And it's what drives me forward. It's what keeps me going. That God is still on the throne, and the gifts of calling of God are without revocation. God gave us this great country as a gift to every single American, and we as Americans must make sure that it's preserved inviolate as God intended it to be. Not some sort of Marxist, secular, socialist, totalitarian, tyrannical, sexually perverse nation, but a nation whose God is the Lord. 888-589-8840 is the number. And by the way, not some sort of racially divided, tribal nation with people warring against each other on the basis of whatever the left can come up with, but one nation under God, indivisible, because that's the pathway to liberty and justice for all. 888-589-8840 is the number. Let's go to Lisa in Tennessee. Lisa, welcome. Okay. Okay, Lisa. Mm-hmm. Amen. Yeah. Well, Lisa, look, you and I are on exactly the same page. And people ask sometimes, aren't we at the point where we ought to take up arms? And my answer is no, because we still have many constitutional mechanisms at our disposal, and we can't give up until we have exercised all of those. I mean, and think about some of the good things. Thank you for the call, too, Lisa. Think about some of the good things that are happening all over the country. Think about these parents that have risen up. Think about people been kicked off school boards, and prosecutors been kicked out of office, and a lot of good things are happening in the interim. And think about these ministries that are arising. I mean, think about the existence of American Family Radio and American Family Association and the whole family of ministries under this ministry. All of these things to me are indications that God has a remnant. And the Bible says, I believe it's in Isaiah 5, that unless the Lord had left to us a very small remnant, well, that may be, 5 may be wrong, but unless the Lord had left to us a very small remnant, we would have been like Sodom, we would have become like Gomorrah. We've got a remnant in this country, and with that remnant, I really believe God can turn the whole situation around. So yeah, Lisa, we can't sit around waiting for that. Obviously, we got to be doing everything in our power to make sure that that is the ultimate outcome. Just like George Washington didn't go home and say, well, things don't seem to be looking too good, so I think I'll just go home to Mount Vernon. No, he fought until the British surrendered. Let's go to Tricia in Texas. Tricia, welcome. Mm, amen. Amen. All right, Tricia, thank you for the call. And we look, and we need to proclaim the truth of God's word. That's the other thing. And folks, sometimes in these circumstances, it can cost you to tell the truth. It can cost you to say, no, I don't believe in same-sex marriage, because I don't believe that's a marriage. I believe marriage is only what God made it to be, one man and one woman in the bonds of holy matrimony. That can cost you something today, but we've got to tell the truth, because if we don't tell the truth, there are a lot of people who are never going to hear it. Thank you for the call, Tricia. Let's go to Janet, also in Texas. Janet, welcome. Janet, thank you for the call. Yeah, this was a silhouette, so it wasn't an actual person saluting. It was a meme, a graphic that showed this silhouette of an Air Force man, again assuming it was Air Force because it was an Air Force ad, saluting this abominable thing that they call some kind of pride flag of some kind. So there's no individual to be put out on it, but just the concept of putting that out there is just, I mean, that's what's abominable. Whoever was responsible for that, whoever made the decision that that was okay, you're right, they should be kicked out. Okay, let's go to Britain in Texas. Britain, welcome. Yep. Yeah. Well, Britton, thank you so much for the call. The way this works is they paid the prosecutors, they paid the special counsel, they paid all the people that they had investigating. You are right in the sense it was a boondoggle, and a lot of people got rewarded, but that's where the money went. The money went to presumably paying all the people who were necessary in order to carry out the hoax investigation. Thank you for the call, Britton. Let's see. Let's go to Cornelius in Louisiana. Cornelius, welcome. Thank you. Hmm. Yeah. Hey, Cornelius, thank you so much for the call. I'll tell you, here's where I come down on this. And by the way, folks, I'm no admirer of the Confederacy in any way, shape, or form. I just think we're losing an opportunity to teach some history. And, you say a deal was made. It was also about, I mean, Abraham Lincoln, one of the things that he was most concerned about was, can we knit the country back together? Can we ever become a country again? And you're right, there was concessions that were made to try to at least acknowledge that some of the people who fought on the Confederate side were honorable people. They were fighting just like Robert E. Lee. They were fighting to defend their states, not fighting to defend slavery. You could say, well, the effect was the same, maybe, but there's a difference there in motive. I am absolutely convinced that Stonewall Jackson was not fighting to defend slavery. He was fighting to defend his state, the state of Virginia. And I think we're losing an opportunity to teach some of the nuances of history. Who were these people? Why did they fight on the side of the Confederacy? Instead of just removing all of that history, let's talk about it. Let's teach it. Let's explain it. I mean, I think there were some Confederates who were horrible people, and there were some Northerners who were horrible people. And let's talk about the complexity of that history and use it to teach people. And look, here again, I'm not one who's going to go protest because somebody wants to change the name of a base from a Confederate general. But I just think it's a lot of misplaced energy and activity that we should be using to teach people about our history and about why, as human beings, we can make mistakes, we can be on the wrong sides of issues, we can end up hurting each other and doing great harm to each other, and why we never want to have to go that way again. I mean, it's just to me, it's just a tremendous opportunity to do that. And instead, what we're doing is just removing it. That's all. Let's just get rid of it. And we end up, as far as I'm concerned, just as ignorant as we ever were. So that's my take on it. And here again, okay, let's assume. Sorry, folks, and get to the rest of you. But let's assume we removed every indication, because now, of course, they're going to George Washington. I just mentioned this Revolutionary War hero. Let's remove every single Confederate person, every single one of them. Then my next question is, whose life has been improved as a result? You know who? Nobody's. Nobody's. But of course, look at this shiny object over here instead of looking at the substantive issues that we have to really deal with. That's going to do it for today, folks. God bless each and every one of you. Stand up, step up, speak up, refuse to back up, because we cannot be defeated if we will not quit, because we are on God's side. All right, you too, Randy. Talk to you tomorrow. God bless.